Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. As you couldn't see my face, I just spoiled the mock, but I'll show it again here in a second. Here for my first 7-round mock draft for the Tennessee Titans. We are 3 weeks away from the 2023 NFL Draft. Could have made this earlier, but I just kind of kept procrastinating. As I really got to know the prospects over time, and I don't know, like, even beyond the first 2 days, to be honest with you. So I just should pick, players of need and players that when I looked at their profiles, I was like, okay, this fits a need. So we're gonna go into the 7-round mock now. This mock is gonna be, and I like to get my mocks correct. This mock, and I really think you're looking at 3 main scenarios depending on, well, really 2 main scenarios for round 1, but 3 main scenarios overall, depending on how the draft shakes out. This one is the one that I'm currently kind of preferring. I think a lot of you will also feel similar depending how you really feel about our skill positions right now versus our offensive line. I mean, we all recognize that wide receiver is a need, offensive tackle is a need. Some people think no matter what, you have to draft the tackle if he's there, either whether it be Paris Johnson, Peter Skronsky, even if you think he's a guard, or Broderick Jones. Some people like me are now saying, I want Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's what I want. So that's what I mocked. Next time, I'm going to do an offensive lineman. But in my opinion, as of this moment, okay, and this is currently April 6th, 2023. As of this moment, I honestly really believe that Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be selected number 9 overall by the Chicago Bears. I mean, I believe that almost 90% right now. I mean, I don't see any chance that they take Jack Smith after they just got DJ Moore. They still have Darnell Mooney, who's gotten 1,000 yards only just 2 seasons ago, and they traded for Chase Claypool last year. I don't see them taking him. They're not going to take a quarterback. They could take a defensive player, sure. If they fall in love with Miles Murphy, if they fall in love with Luke Van Ness, if they fall in love with Christian Gonzalez, sure. But right now, what makes the most sense is them taking Paris Johnson Jr. or Peter Skronsky, which leaves us the other of the two. So next week, and I'm probably going to do it next week, I'm probably going to mock Skronsky. I don't even want to mock Paris Johnson Jr. anymore. I don't think it's going to happen. As of right now, I think Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be selected number 9 by the Chicago Bears, leaving us with the potential to draft Peter Skronsky. So last night, specifically, I spent a lot of time looking at Skronsky's tape. Do I think he's a tackle? Do I think he's a guard? I think he can be a fine and even pretty good left tackle. I think he probably would then maybe even definitely be a better guard, for sure. But could he be a maybe potentially Pro Bowl tackle? He certainly could be. He might struggle with some of the elite pass rushers, though, whereas at guard, I don't think that'd be an issue. And, I'll give him the credit. Even though he has shorter arms, he still bends 30 reps at the combine. So he has plenty of strength to handle some of these power rushers at the next level, despite the lack of arm length. So maybe like more of the bendy outside linebackers or defensive ends might give him problems. But he seems like a pretty capable player. Not a flashy tackle by any means, but a very capable player. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at the mock. And yes, I have Jackson Smith and Jigba being drafted by the Tennessee Titans in the first round, number 11 overall. Now, people are debating whether or not he's even worth this pick. First of all, he's the best wide receiver in this class, in my opinion. Now, Quentin Johnston, I understand why people like him. And I think Quentin Johnston, while he has his issues, he has drops, and he has sometimes problems catching contested catches, I do actually think he likely, as long as he keeps his head on straight, and I don't think there's any character concerns there, I think he's going to end up being a Pro Bowl wide receiver in his own right, and he's my wide receiver number 2. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is my wide receiver number 1. He is up there, if not the best route runner in this NFL draft. In fact, I will go and say he's the best route runner in this draft, consistently getting open for Ohio State with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on his team last season, or the season, 2021, still led the Buckeyes in receiving yards, still set the Rose Bowl record for most receiving yards with over 300 yards in one game. Watch his tape. He gets open consistently. And then you saw him at the combine, consistently showing you his route running abilities, his catching abilities. If your real gripe at him is that he's a slot wide receiver, again, I challenge you to go rewatch Larry Fitzgerald. People keep forgetting how much Larry Fitzgerald was in the slot. He was in the slot all the time. I don't have the exact percentages in front of me, but Larry Fitzgerald was in the slot all of the time. That does not concern me. Wes Welker, we know how great of a wide receiver he is. And then, again, it's not like he's incapable of going outside. That's just where he primarily was able to find himself. This is not 2001. Slot wide receivers are so effective. Hell, you need them. Why do you think our offense stinks every year? Because we haven't had a slot wide receiver in Tennessee worth a damn. Okay? That's one of the reasons why our offense consistently stinks. We don't have someone in the middle that our quarterback can easily look to consistently. We just want to throw outside all the time, whether it be Kerry Collins, Vince Young, Steve McNair, Marcus Mariota, Jake Walker. Mariota, he threw over the middle in the scene with Delaney Walker and stuff like that. And guess what? That worked out for us. So give it a shot. There's no need to be scared because, well, he played, over 80% of his snaps in the slot. He'll be fine. He's going to continue to expand his route tree. He can already run the entire route tree. Just watch his tape, turn it on, and I'm telling you, you're going to be very impressed by what you see with Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is going to be, and again, look, my thing also when it comes to this is this. I mean, look, Trey Burks looked good in limited duty last year. He had about 400, and I want to say it was exactly 444 receiving yards and maybe one touchdown, and that might have been the touchdown that, he had against the Eagles. Or maybe he had a couple more. But I'm still not even sure he's going to be like our number one definitively. I don't even know that. So I don't know if he's going to be anything. I don't know if he's going to be Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know if he's going to be Kenny Britt. I don't know if he's going to be Justin Hunter. I don't know what he is yet. I see spurts. I see things that I like, but I haven't seen anything definitive for me to say, okay, I feel totally comfortable with Treylon Burks just being that guy. Whereas, okay, you gave Andre Dillard $9 million a year, hopefully for a reason. Hopefully you let go of Nate Davis and, got Andre Dillard for a reason because we'll be okay at left tackle for now, at least for this year, right? Hopefully you signed him to this deal that you signed him. You didn't have to. You could have waited. You could have picked up Donovan Smith. You could have picked up some other options. Isaiah Wynn, although he's not great, you got Andre Dillard. So because you did, you should feel comfortable getting Jackson Smith-Njigba because you didn't get a wide receiver, but you did get a tackle. So I feel absolutely fine mocking this. But we look at the second round. Now, the second round, this is where it gets interesting. And this is where I can understand the argument to take a tackle in the first round because in the second round and in the third round, there are more wide receiver options than there are tackle options. Because really, when you look at this 41 spot, the only players that are really of value, potentially, are DeJuan Jones, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State, but he's purely a right tackle at this point. He played right tackle at Ohio State. He's 6'8", 300 and almost 80 pounds. He's a power tackle. You'd have to teach him how to play that tackle. Now, some people have argued, okay, just take him and then, move Nicholas Petit-Frere into guard. Okay, sure. That's something you can do. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. I still want Petit-Frere played tackle like throughout his entire time at Ohio State. I still think he should figure out how to play tackle again before we just resort to that. So I don't want to do that, especially because Nicholas Petit-Frere, I mean, I would argue he played left tackle for Ohio State. DeJuan Jones played right tackle. Now, DeJuan Jones is going to go higher than Nicholas Petit-Frere went. But I think Petit-Frere might have been the better college player. At the very least, it's close. So I don't know any other reason outside of just physical, just physicality, just their builds, why DeJuan Jones would be so much better than Petit-Frere. But again, he's 6'8", 380 almost, 374. It's ridiculous. So he'd be interesting here. And then there's a chance, but I doubt it now, that Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle out of Tennessee, but he's been rising up draft boards. He's going to go in the first round. I highly doubt that he's going to be available at this spot. So I'm thinking now, forget about Darnell Wright as a possibility. to be here at 41. You'd have to move up to go get him. And I think like well into the first to go get him. There's also like potentially like Blake Freeland, if you like him, out of I think he's from BYU, and like that's it. But what there is, oh, and also Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, who actually is decent. But I don't know if they're going to be available at 41. It seems like they're all going to be gone by 41. DeJuan Jones, Anton Harrison for sure. Freeland will still be available, but I don't think he's of value. So it's a tough spot. Whereas wide receivers, there's going to be a lot of options. There's probably going to be, at the very least, Josh Downs, maybe Jalen Hyatt. At the very least, for sure, you're going to have like Tank Dell and some of these guys. But some of these guys ended up being third rounders as well. I mean, some of them, their draft stock, it's a little shady as to where exactly they're going to go. Tyler Scott, A.T. Perry. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of wide receivers. So if you're making that argument, that's a fine argument. But let me give you the counter argument for that. Do you know how many wide receivers go in the NFL draft every year? It's a lot. Okay? It's a lot of wide receivers. And let me tell you, while you can look at guys like a Cooper Kupp or like some of these later round guys that end up doing well, Terry McLaurin, and look at them and say, well, he was a third rounder. He was a fourth round. He ended up being great. I'm telling you, it's rare. I think if you look up the statistics, I'm sure of this. It has to be more rare than tackle. It has to. I mean, how many wide receivers have we taken after the first round and they don't work out? Justin Hunter, Dorial Green-Beckham. The list goes on and on and on. We're going to find out about Kyle Phillips. We're going to find out about Racey McMath. So it's, Taywan Taylor. We've taken plenty of these guys on day 2 and 3, and they don't work out. Most likely, you're going to see a lot of players like Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, rarely do these guys make the Pro Bowl. I think you're better off taking wide receiver in round 1. And not that there's not wide receiver bust in round 1. You have your Corey Coleman's, you have your, examples like that, Kendall Wright. But, I don't know. And look, you might have, great players like A.J. Brown. But it's just a crapshoot, especially with this many players that I'm seeing with that wide receiver round 2. But again, like I told you, next week I'm going to do tackle first, and you can guess I'm going to do wide receiver round 2 or 3 for sure. So with that said, I said, let me take a center. There are 2 centers that are going to be available, most likely, or at least around this range, in John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. And I can't remember the other guy's name right now, actually, but there's another center that's looking to be in this range as well. John Michael Schmitz, this is a guy that looks like he can start day 1 potentially, but even then he doesn't have to, because we just, re-signed Aaron Brewer and, Corey Levin as well. So there can be a competition there. But, I mean, those are 2 men that were drafted to be guards. They played mostly guard. I liked how Levin played as a center last year, and people are just assuming that, he can continue that. I don't know about that. If you have a true definitive, center that you can take here, I think that's something you have to consider heavily, and then just fill that spot, and then let, the other players, let Brewer and Levin compete at the other position, assuming my 3rd round pick is not able to come in and do that. So this is what I did. I still think center is a possibility. I was thinking of Joe Tippmann, by the way, the center out of Wisconsin, also looking to be in this range. So I went center here. I know people are already just assuming it's going to be Aaron Brewer or Corey Levin, and they're fine with that. I don't know why. Yes, Brewer played better at center than he's ever played at guard, and Levin played fine at center. I don't think that means that there are franchise centers, whereas John Michael Schmitz could be. So 3rd round, I have Jalen Duncan, the offensive lineman out of Maryland. So currently, he's a tackle. He started all his 4 years at left tackle at Maryland. However, you look at his frame, you look at his play style, he could move into guard as well. So this is a guy, and look, you really have to, it's rare, unless if you're desperate, that you're going to start your 3rd round tackle. I mean, God knows we've never even started Dylan Radins, except for out of desperation. He went in the 2nd. But if you hit on this guy, like the Bears hit on Braxton Jones last year, like the Colts hit on Bernard Ryman last year, This is a guy that maybe could come in and start for you either at guard or a tackle. So you still get your potential guard or tackle. Maybe Dillard at tackle, this guy at guard if Brewer 11 isn't able to win the job. And then hell, the ideal is that you have Dillard, you have Duncan, you have John Michael Schmitz, you have Daniel Brunskill, and then you have Nicholas Petit-Fair. Now, the offensive line is still not good because you have two rookies. You have a Dillard that's never played. You have a Brunskill who hasn't really played. And then Nicholas Petit-Fair who didn't play very well his rookie year. So, it's still not good. But, we'll see what it is. And then we'll evaluate it. So, it's not fixed. I don't think this offensive line is going to be fixed. Even if you took it in the first 3 rounds. If you took Paris Johnson, if you took Skaronski, I don't care. And then you took Michael Schmitz, and then you took a 3rd-round guard, I still don't think the offensive line's fixed. I still don't think it's going to be fixed. But even though I liked my skill position, I took my skill position, I still recognize offensive line is a problem. And we need to address it. So that's why I addressed it. So we continue with that and look at the other picks. So we don't have a 4th-round pick. Oh, that Julio Jones trade. We swung for the fences. If only Tanner would have played well in that game, who knows what would have happened. Anyway. Luke Schoonmaker, the tight end out of Michigan. Now, the Titans just picked up, what's his name? Trevon Wesco, this blocking inline tight end from the New York Jets. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't watched much of this guy's tape, but he graded very well in terms of run blocking. Yeah, like I'm supposed to know who this guy is. But yeah, he graded very well in run blocking. He looks like he's going to be our Michael Pruitt, a number 3 tight end. But I still don't think we have a number 2 tight end. Luke Schoonmaker would compete with Wesco, hopefully to be that, because it doesn't sound like Wesco. You had like 186 snaps last year. He doesn't sound like he gets a pass catcher at all. Schoonmaker can come in and make some plays. He made some plays for Michigan. He's probably going to go 5th just because his potential is a bit limited. But so was Chico Conquo. Well, his potential wasn't limited, but people just thought he wasn't a great blocker enough and that he just wasn't worth it. We won there. At least we won somewhere. God knows it's rare. So yeah, I have Luke Schoonmaker here. It's not a huge need. I mean, if you're being really critical here, you could say, why are we taking a tight end? You might feel that we need a safety more. I disagree because we know that Hooker and Byard are pretty definitive there. You might feel we need a corner. Not with the Sean Murphy-Bunting signing. I think with Roger McCreary, Christian Fulton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Elijah Molden, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have your 5 and Caleb Farley or whoever else. I don't care who it is. Chris Jackson, God knows you're going to have to go on the street and pick up a cornerback anyway because they're going to get injured. They always get injured. But I didn't feel like, oh, well, I have to draft a cornerback. I didn't feel that way. I probably will in my next mock. I didn't feel that way. I felt more that way for edge. So I took an edge here in Robert Bill Jr. out of Georgia because we're 3 deep, So we have Arden Key, we have Harold Landry, we have Rashad Weaver. But, Landry's coming off the ACL. Weaver fell off at the end of last season. And Arden Key, while he played well for the Jags last season, he's even has inconsistencies. So I still think edge is a bigger problem than corner, than safety, than even our defensive line. I could have took the defensive line here, though. I was very strongly considering that. Also, I was considering inside linebacker because although we assume and believe that Azeez Al-Shaair is going to come in and do well, and maybe he will, and I think he will, and Monty Rice is going to stay healthy, outside of them, we don't know much, So that's why with my last pick, I went inside linebacker Anthony Orji out of Vanderbilt. Now, was there some bias here? Potentially. But I've seen him play, high motor, would fit our scheme. And I think he could do some things. It's a 7th-round pick, guys. Give me a little bit of slack. So you fix the offensive line, or at least you hope you do. You get a little weapon, and you get a great weapon in Jasper the Jigba, a little weapon in Schoonmaker, and then you're able to, get some potential defensively with Robert Bill Jr. and it's a linebacker in Anthony Orji. I never assume that 6th and 7th-round picks are going to make the team. If they make the team, wake me up and let me know. There's probably going to be more players from the undrafted that make the team than your 6th and 7th-round picks. Y'all remember Cole McDonald had a farm? Yeah, I don't. Did he even play in the preseason? I assume he did. But I don't remember that. So that's always my assumption. I care more about the undrafted free agent class than to do 6 or 7 round picks. I'll fill needs, but it really doesn't matter. And I'm just no quarterback. Which, I could have easily went Hendon Hooker here. I don't think he's making it to 41. I think you're going to have to move up for him. And, if you're not going to do it for, Stroud or Young, or even, I don't want to do it for Richardson, but if you're not going to do it for him, I don't think the upside with Hooker is enough for me to say do it in the second round and give up a third or a fourth to do it in order to move up 5 to 10 spots to take him. Not for me. I would just say, okay, F it. This year sucks. Let's just fix the old line. And then next year, let's get some more pieces in order to make a trade to go get our franchise quarterback. F it. That's what I think I would rather just bet on next year's class. And, I've been saying, I'm not one of these guys that's absolutely saying, oh, next year's class is so much better than this class. Just wait for next year's class. Well, Caleb Williams is great. By the way, Bryce Young was great too. The only difference between Caleb Williams and Bryce Young is Caleb Williams has the size. That's it. It's the only difference. It's literally the only difference. Oh, and by the way, Caleb Williams is better than C.J. Stroud in terms of how they've played, because I've seen Caleb Williams deal with situations, deal with problems more than Young. But I don't know why people definitively believe, well, Williams is so much, he's bigger than Young, so he might last because of that. But in terms of how they played on the field, why is Caleb Williams so much better than Bryce Young? In terms of, maybe in terms of a prospect, fine. If you want to say size and all that, that's the only reason. Drake May, we'll see what he does next year. But again, we're talking about the top 2 picks of the draft if they end up, continuing to play well. So you're going to have to position yourself to get those guys, and that's not going to be easy. That means you're going to have to win like 4 or 5 games. So I don't know if you want to do that, but that's what you're going to have to do. Or we might have to win against 6 or 7 and then trade up, and we're going to have to figure that out. But yeah, no quarterback. I feel like as well, I really definitively believe this. If you're not going to take one of the top 5 quarterbacks and, a Young, Stroud, Richardson, the only scenario I'm taking with Levis is if he's at 41. If he's at 41, I'll take him. Hendon Hooker or Levis, I don't even want anyone else. I guess I'd be fine to take, I like Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA. Some of you guys love Stetson Bennett. Now that would be, dude, if Stetson Bennett was here, the clamoring for Stetson Bennett as soon as Tannehill does anything would be hilarious, man. Oh, the drama. But no Stetson Bennett for me. Unless if he goes undrafted, you just want to call him. It's still going to be funny. It's going to be hell. It's going to be such a distraction. He needs to go to a team that has a definitive starting franchise quarterback, because if not, they're going to clamor for him, and they're going to think he's Brock Purdy. They're going to think he's their next Brock Purdy. And maybe he is. But I'm just saying it's going to be dramatic. But yeah, Tanner McKee's fine, but I just have a problem in this scenario of taking 2 quarterbacks in the 3rd round or less in 2 straight years. Because while I do, and you guys know, I don't have any faith that Malik Willis is going to be the franchise quarterback moving forward, I do concede there's a chance he could really improve in the offseason, improve in the training camp, and give you a shot. So taking 2 quarterbacks round 3 or less, nah. If you're taking a one in the next year, round 1 or 2, because you're just like, yeah, screw this guy. Let's move on. I believe in this guy more. Let's move on from Rosen to Kyler Murray. I'm fine with that. But taking another later in day 2, or day 2's fine, but round 3 or round 4 quarterback, taking a Tanner McKee. Now we're going to have Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, and Tanner McKee, or Jaron Hall, or Max Duggan. It's just I don't know. It bothers me. And I know that Brock Purdy was drafted last year in the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, and it worked for the 49ers. I don't think we're going to be the 49ers this year. So I think I'm good. I don't know. I did think it's icky. Maybe because the upside for the 7th round is high enough that if Stetson's there, then fine. Because you're probably not going to take it in the 7th round anyway. That's going to make an impact. I mean, let's just be honest here. I cannot tell you the last 7th round pick for us that made any sort of impact. I think it was Tommy Campbell. So, yeah, I literally don't remember anyone else. So, if he's still there in the 7th, fine. And maybe he might be. I don't think he'll be. I think he could be gone in the 6th. Or maybe even the 5th. And I'm interested by Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I am. I think that's one of them that's intriguing. My only problem with a guy like that is I think he's a bit gimmicky. And I don't know if he's going to be a franchise quarterback. And I don't want him to come in and kind of convince you. And then next year we're like, well, we have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So now are we going to take a quarterback now? Let's give him a shot. Nah, let's just roll with Willis and Tannehill. Let them screw it up. And then next year we can move on. You can move on and get that high prospect that we know we deserve. Okay, so that's my stance on that. But just because there's no quarterback in this mock doesn't mean that there won't be one in the next mock. And just because there are no trades in this mock doesn't mean there won't be any trades in the next mock. So, with that said, no real comments in the chat tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on my 7th round mock draft. I will be back probably next Thursday. For my next mock as well. Hopefully we get some definitive rumors. I didn't include anyone here except for, I think, did we have a meeting with Jackson Smith at Jigba? I'm not sure. I can't remember right now. But I might include some more of those names as well in terms of players that we actually, met up with. I didn't see anyone that was like of value at the time for me to mock, so that's why I didn't do that. But maybe next time I will. So with that said, that's going to do it for me, MJ Sports Fan Entertainment. I'm out. See you all later.